Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a question that honestly keeps tech leaders up at night. Is my engineering team just busy, or are they actually being productive? For years, leaders have been wrestling with this, trying to put a simple number on the incredibly creative, complex work that is software development. But as we're about to find out, the old ways of measuring this stuff, well, they're not just wrong, they're actively harmful. For way too long, we've been caught in what's called the vanity metric trap, where we've been mistaking simple activity for real, actual progress. So what did we do? We focused on what was super easy to count, right? Lines of code, number of commits, story points. But here's the thing. These metrics don't just give you a false sense of control, they actually encourage the wrong behaviors. They tell you someone's keyboard is clicking, but they tell you absolutely nothing about whether they're actually solving a problem. This all just kind of boiled over with that recent McKinsey controversy. A report came out suggesting we use these exact same effort-based metrics, and oh boy, the software community's response was swift, and it was unanimous. You just cannot measure productivity this way. It fundamentally misunderstands how value is created in the first place. Okay, think about it like this. It's the perfect example. Picture a senior engineer who deletes, say, 50 lines of messy, buggy code and replaces it with one single, elegant line that saves the whole system. Now, on one of those old-school activity dashboards, it looks like they did nothing all day. It's crazy. The most valuable work, like planning, architecture, mentoring, or deep debugging, it often looks like zero activity. We end up rewarding busy work instead of high-impact problem-solving. So, just as we were finally starting to learn this lesson, this powerful new force just exploded onto the scene, making the whole problem even more urgent. Generative AI. And on the surface, AI tools look like an absolute miracle. I mean, developers are generating code and opening pull requests at a staggering rate. We're talking nearly double what they did before. It feels like a massive productivity win. But here's the catch. That fire hose of AI-generated code means pull requests have become enormous. We're not just talking a little bigger. They're more than double the size. And that creates a huge new bottleneck in the system. And who has to deal with that bottleneck? The human reviewers. They are now drowning in these massive blocks of code they didn't write, trying to spot errors and security flaws. And as a result, code review time has almost doubled, which just grinds the whole process to a halt. And this right here, this reveals the core of the paradox. A recent Metro study found that while developers felt 20% faster using AI, they were actually 19% slower on complex tasks. It's the ultimate proof that our old activity-based metrics are totally and completely broken. So if tracking activity is a trap, how do we get a clear picture of what's really going on? The solution isn't one magic metric. Instead, it's a toolkit of 3 interconnected frameworks that all have to work together. Think of it like this. DORA measures the health of your delivery machine. Space measures the health of the people who are operating that machine. And flow, well, flow connects all of that work back to actual business value. So first up, you've got DORA. It gives us 5 objective metrics that measure the speed and stability of your software delivery system. It looks at how often you deploy, how fast a change gets to production, and how often those changes fail. It's all about the mechanics, with zero human bias. But of course, a machine is nothing without its operators, and that's where the space framework comes in. It adds that absolutely crucial human context. It measures stuff like developer satisfaction and collaboration, because as we all know, burnout is a massive organizational risk that DORA metrics alone will never, ever see coming. And finally, flow metrics. This is what bridges that gap between engineering and the rest of the business. It translates all that technical work into a language anyone can understand by categorizing every single bit of effort into one of 4 value streams: creating new features, fixing defects, managing security risks, or paying down technical debt. Now this is where it gets really eye-opening. For most companies, a piece of work spends a shocking 85% of its time just sitting there, idle, waiting in queues, waiting for approvals, waiting on other teams. The problem isn't slow developers, it's a slow system. A really common mistake is creating one giant dashboard for everybody. To be effective, you have to tailor the metrics to the specific role, giving each person the right information to make the right decisions. At the executive level, it is all about the big picture. They need to see if the investment in engineering is actually driving business goals. Are we building new things, or are we just keeping the lights on? How quickly are we getting real value to our customers? Now for engineering managers, the focus shifts to the health of the system and the team. They use DORA to find those bottlenecks, and they use space to check for signs of burnout, making sure they're creating an environment where their developers can really thrive. And for the developers themselves, productivity is personal. It's about removing the daily friction and the daily toil. How long do I have to wait for my code to build? How long am I blocked just waiting for a review? Their metrics are all about eliminating the stuff that gets in the way of deep, focused work. But even with the perfect frameworks and the most beautiful dashboards, there is one final piece of the puzzle that is absolutely essential: your company culture. This all comes down to something called Goodhart's Law, which basically says when a measure becomes a target, it stops being a good measure. The moment you tie these numbers to performance reviews or bonuses, your teams will start gaming the system and all of your data will become completely worthless. So, the crucial point is this. These are diagnostic tools, not weapons. They are for finding and fixing systemic bottlenecks in your processes, in your tools, in your organization, not for stack ranking individual engineers. Look, in the era of AI, measuring effort is a dead end. The future belongs to those who stop tracking keystrokes and start widening the bottlenecks. Adopting this systems-level view of productivity isn't just a good idea anymore, it's a matter of survival.